Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. In today's video I'm going to be talking about another obscure sci-fi series that has a surprisingly long and complicated run, and which currently mostly resides in the heads of people who have seen it as teens. I'm of course talking about the cult classic, LEXX. Two X's. Check the title. It was aired in the United States alongside Farscape, and honestly I could see why you would lump those two together. First of all, they were both produced by, or in other large but more sparsely populated English-speaking countries. Um, Farscape in Australia, LEXX in Canada, and they both feature a crew that is trying to flee a totalitarian state aboard a living ship. The similarities, however, begin and end there. LEXX is in many ways both much more visceral and much more expansive. There's a running joke according to which Farscape is Star Trek's kid that ran off to join a circus. By that same logic, LEXX is the child of Warhammer 40k with an acid addiction. It is very wild, very brash, very horny, at times very, very aggressive, and it fully indulges in the aesthetic and atmosphere it creates. This is a show you either love or hate. You might at times find it confusing, but you might find that to be part of its charm. Also, it had a very wild and turbulent production history, which led to huge differences in scope and tone over the course of its broadcast. I'll try to keep that as straight as I can while I give you this overview of the series. And this overview starts obviously at the beginning with season 1, which sees the crew coming together and fleeing away the totalitarian theocracy they lived in up until then, and venture into the larger universe, or other universes, and pretty much find them all to be in some way, shape, or form hostile, and every single one of their encounters becomes a struggle for survival in some way, as they deal with various strange manifestations and phenomena. This season is the most nihilistic of the show, and since it most directly focuses on the struggle for survival, and it doesn't really have a longer background narrative or season arc to speak of. The standout episode here is definitely the premiere, I Worship His Shadow, which does a very good job at depicting the absurd governing system in place in the theocracy that our characters have lived in up until then, and and it also shows how when this system fails, it fails spectacularly. From that failure, we get a huge collection of pretty good action pieces, and the action escalation that goes along is a sight to behold. It is very makes for a very enthralling viewing. This it's actually a made-for-TV movie. Makes for a very enthralling viewing, and it is a good barometer of how much you will enjoy the rest of the series. This season, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I'll mention this again if I did. It's made up of 4 made-for-TV movies, however, it has at times been aired as 8 regular length episodes. Funnily enough, this will be the only season that is made up of movies, as it were. All the other seasons are regular length episodes, but the season length varies quite a bit. Season 2 is what I would call peak LEXX. It consists of 20 episodes, and in many ways sets in stone the aesthetic and narrative focus that would go on to define the rest of this series. It focuses on the characters and on the characters meeting and interacting with various various planets, various people, various associations and societies, and we explore how they and we explore the ramifications of their interactions. In the societies, these other entities they encounter are in many ways reflective of the media and its fixations that were in place around the late 90s, and only they are brought to the small screen in strange and darkly satirical sci-fi stories. It makes for a very interesting and a very compelling viewing that that also gradually escalates and knows how to make you invested in all that is at stake. And it manages to do so while also delivering a solid season arc built upon the framework that season 1 has provided, or rather using elements that season 1 has provided, while also delivering a lot of the best characters, quotes, and moments of the entire series. The standout episode in this season is the 18th, Brigadoon. And in this episode, the LEXX, the titular flying ship, living ship, encounters a theater that just so happens to be floating around in space. The crew visit it, and they notice that someone emailed me, I guess, and and when they get into the theater, they find that the denizens there are putting together are hosting a play about Kai, one of the crew members. I won't go too deep into it, and I'll just say that it makes for a really weird stylistic clash, especially when you consider where we are in terms of the season arc, and in terms of how the storytelling generally is different between this episode and the other episodes. But it still makes for a very enthralling and very compelling viewing experience. Then we move on to season 3, which consists of 13 episodes and sees the LEXX orbiting a pair of planets that are in turn orbiting each other. These two planets are connected through a thin strip of atmosphere and are constantly at war. Because the LEXX itself is running out of power, the crew is contemplating the possibility that they might have to settle on one of these planets. This season is in many ways the most intimate and personal of LEXX. It challenges all the crew members in ways they haven't been. They really haven't been challenged before, or maybe even since, as they struggle through all the weird settings that these two planets confront them with. The standout episode here is the finale, Heaven and Hell, where the mystery surrounding these planets is revealed, and the burgeoning season arc, which was actually built very subtly. I have to congratulate the series for that. Is concluded. Season 4 sees the crew arriving on Earth. Yes, really, and deals with their shenanigans as they deal with as they are confronted by various figures of authority, as well as several opportunistic randos, and how they confront those. At 24 episodes long, it is the longest season, and also in many ways the black sheep of the series. It does have a lot of a lot of good moments and a pretty solid season arc, but it suffers because a lot of the ideas and themes that it touches upon, it has already touched upon in its past, only even better back then. And now at its fourth season, it is falling into several narrative traps that it was so good at avoiding in the past. I don't know what happened there. And it also tries way too hard to be funny at various points in time, at various points over the course of the run. Not to say all of season 4 is bad. There's plenty that is good, but there is plenty that is worse, more so than in other seasons. In spite of that, the standout episode of season 4 is not just good for season 4. It is easily one of the best episodes of the entire series. I am of course talking about the season end series finale, Yo Way Yo, which is in many ways an action-packed climax filled with narrative twists and turns, which also manages to deliver effective and compelling character drama. It is an amazing ending to an amazing series. What makes this series amazing, however, isn't really the fact that it has great or thematically deep storylines, but they do help. But rather more the sheer audacity and brazenness required to bring its particular styles and sensitivities, or lack thereof, on the small screen. This series is in many ways a once-in-a-generation media experience that really straddles the line between concept and execution. It rides the very thin edge between craziness and approachability, and in very compelling ways combines the depths of desire and experience with the insight and ironic detachment of jaded cynicism. And all of that makes for great television. What can I say? If I were to give this show a rating, I have to say it would be a 4 out of 5 were it not for all the worst things about season 4. But as it stands, considering everything about it, my final rating has to rest at a 3 out of 5. Still, I can't help but recommend you watch at least the first made-for-TV movie, and then ideally go through everything because, well, as I think I've mentioned, I've enjoyed everything, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who will find everything else about it enjoyable as well. And now that I've said this, now that I've written down the overview script, and now that I've mentioned it to you, I realize that, well, that is all I can say about this show for now. The bug got me again, and I don't want to just leave it at that. So, join me next time, ideally after we will have found and watched the series, when I'll be talking about what I think are its 10 best episodes. For now, however, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. If you have anything you'd like to add, the comment section awaits your input. If you enjoyed this video, then go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to see when the next video comes out, then I suggest you go ahead and subscribe. Maybe also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube asks of you so you get notified. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.